Today, we're going to dive into a really powerful idea, one that completely reframes how we think about suffering, creativity, and language itself. It's based on the work The Wound That Speaks, and let me tell you, it challenges one of our most deeply held beliefs. And it all starts right here, with this incredibly blunt statement. Just let that sit for a moment. Suffering is not ennobling. It doesn't purify you. It doesn't burn away the unimportant stuff to reveal some, gleaming core of wisdom. This one sentence sets the stage to just completely dismantle a myth that has caused a whole lot of damage. Because let's be honest, that's exactly what it is. A lie. It's a romantic story we tell ourselves. A story that might make a survivor feel good, sure. But more importantly, it's one that deeply insults the people who didn't make it. I mean, just look at these names. Some of the most brilliant literary minds of the last 100 years. Their art was absolutely extraordinary, but it didn't save them. The work existed alongside their suffering, not because of it. Their deaths weren't some final poetic chapter in a grand drama. They were just endings for people who simply ran out of the ability to keep going. So if suffering isn't this noble thing, then what is it? Well, here's where the whole idea pivots. There is something that happens when we find the right words for our pain. It's not magic, and it's definitely not redemption. It's something much quieter, and maybe, because of that, way more powerful. To really get this, we need a whole new way of looking at our relationship with pain. And it all boils down to this one incredible metaphor: the difference between drowning and swimming. The key term here is legibility. And notice, this isn't about healing. The wound doesn't magically hurt less. The loss isn't gone. Legibility is all about recognition. It's that moment when the precise shape of your own damage becomes clear to you, maybe for the very first time. It becomes readable, simply seen. And this is what legibility feels like. Drowning is when the pain is all there is. It's totally consuming you. But swimming? That's different. Swimming is knowing that you are in the water. The water is just as cold, the shore is just as far away, but you are a consciousness in water, not a consciousness being consumed by the water. That tiny shift in perspective, well, that's everything. So how do we actually make that shift? How do we go from drowning to swimming? Well, the source material gives us three really distinct models, three different ways that artists have used language to make their own wounds legible. Okay, so here are our three guides: Rainer Maria Rilke, Sylvia Plath, and Anne Carson. Each one represents a totally different relationship between a wound and the form it ends up taking. For Rilke, the wound is patient. For Plath, it's direct. And for Carson, it's all about what's absent. Let's break these down. So first up, we've got Rilke and the patient wound. For him, the wound just sort of collected material over decades. He lived with his suffering, his loneliness, feeling out of place, the silence, and he just waited. He waited until his own command of language became precise enough and strong enough to finally give that wound its proper shape. It took him 26 years. Can you imagine? That is what you call artistic patience. And then we have the absolute polar opposite of patience. We have Sylvia Plath. For her, there was no waiting. The wound wasn't something to be shaped over time. It was a force that does the shaping, an eruption. As she herself said, the blood jet is poetry. There is no stopping it. And this brings us to the direct wound. You see, Plath's poems aren't about suffering. They are suffering given a form. The rhythm, the way the lines break, the images she uses, they're the wound speaking directly, with no filter. It's this immediate, raw transmission of pain straight into art. Now, our third model is maybe the trickiest, but so brilliant: Anne Carson and the absent wound. Her work really explores what happens at the very edge of language, the point where words just break down. She shows us that sometimes the most honest art isn't about saying the unsayable. It's about showing exactly where you stopped being able to speak. Carson's go-to tool for this is the bracket, a literal empty space on the page. But don't mistake this for just emptiness. No, it marks a felt presence. It's like the ghost of the thing that just can't be said. The bracket holds the shape of a failure, and that failure, that silence, actually communicates more powerfully than any word ever could. Think of it like this image. The space on the windowsill where the bird was. That space isn't empty, is it? It's full of the memory of the bird, It's evidence of what used to be there. That specific kind of charged emptiness, that's what Carson's bracket captures so perfectly. So when we put all this together, what does it really tell us? We've looked at 3 incredibly powerful ways to make a wound speak, to finally make it legible. At the end of the day, whether it's through patience or urgency or just acknowledging what's absent, each model is a different strategy for the same human problem. And this is why it matters so much, even outside of poetry. Finding the right form for our pain isn't just for artists. It's a psychological necessity. It's the act of using language, that messy, imperfect tool, to make a suffering mind visible to itself. And really, it's the only way to turn the feeling of drowning into the act of swimming.
And that leaves us with one last question. A question for you. We've seen the patient wound, the direct wound, and the absent wound. So if your wound could speak, what form would it take?